Hey guys, it's Realtor Adele, your favorite realtor and investment property strategist. This month's housing market report is pretty loaded. I'm going to do my best to make it not so lengthy. However, there's a lot going on and I want to share that all with you. We will review home prices and inventory levels, and we're also going to take a look at what's going on with foreclosures and talk a bit about the expected recession. The previous slide showed a quote from Doug Duncan of Fannie Mae stating that the first quarter of 2023 home prices increased nationally by 1%. With that said, have home price deceleration or decline stabilized? This chart helped us to make that determination, and it dates back to January 2022 and shows month over month through March of 2023. Now, January of 2022, we started the year with pretty strong home prices, as you can see, that's indicated on this chart. And then we saw a slight decline in actual price deceleration as we continue to look at month over month. Now, what exactly is this chart indicating? It shows us that, of course, as mentioned, home price percent change or a change in home values for just over a year span or slightly over. And note the numbers in July. Last summer was when we saw that first indication of home price deceleration. And of course, last summer was the peak of home prices. Home prices had spiked to the highest we've probably ever seen. And obviously, with high interest rates and high home prices, that combination is not sustainable. And some home buyers took a back seat and decided to wait on purchasing a home. But let's fast forward to January, February of this year. Then we see that home price values started to increase again. And home prices will always be a direct indication of the amount of inventory available versus the amount of buyer demand in the marketplace. As we know, there is no crystal ball when it comes to home prices or mortgage rate predictions or anything else for that matter. There are only educated estimations based on past data and current economic factors. With that said, we've had some forecast adjustments, and that's expected as we continue to navigate the marketplace. What you're looking at is an adjusted home value forecast for 2023 from Fannie Mae that was previously released. In March, it was revised to a possible 4.2% loss in home values. Then another revision was released last month with a prediction of a possible 1.2% loss in home values for 2023. All I can say is that it'll be interesting to see where we land next quarter and, of course, at the end of 2023. What you're looking at is headlines from various news sources implying that housing inventory is going to rise from a flood of foreclosures that will be hitting the market. What happens if there's a flood of foreclosures in the marketplace? If the marketplace is flooded with inventory, then naturally we will be in a very strong buyer's market with more homes than people wanting to buy them. As you can see, or as you see these headlines or hear people talking about them, do yourself a favor and gather more information instead of being reactive, especially if you're in the market to buy or sell real property. Let's take a closer look at what some of these headlines says. You can see the first one from Adam that says U.S. foreclosure activity continues to climb in Q1 2023. That report was released last month, so just about a month ago. Then there are also ones in there from Bloomberg, MSN, as well as Realtor.com. Let's see which one stands out. Okay, so the MSN. U.S. foreclosure filings jumped 22% and repossessions hit the highest level in 3 years. All I would say, I'll choose my words carefully, but do yourself a favor whenever you see headlines like these or hear people getting amped up or hyped up about what's going on with housing, do yourself a favor and gather more information. As mentioned, this is especially important if you are in the market to buy or sell real property. And we will get into the meat of these headlines on the next slide. Okay guys, so for the meat of all of this and to provide more context or a deeper context of those headlines, I'm sharing with you a chart that is also provided by Adam that breaks down those headlines. And you will see this dates back to 2017. But what it is, I wanted to include the last few years or normal years prior to 2020, since 2020 was an anomaly. We were introduced to COVID and all bound to the confines of our homes. There was a lot going on, etc. However, as a result of COVID, moratorium was put in place, which meant that lending institutions could not foreclose on property owners. Once the moratorium was lifted, of course, banks are going to foreclose if payments aren't made current. So yes, foreclosures are happening. Yes, there is a rise, if you will, and this is nothing to be taken lightly. However, it's not at a dramatic rate as implied, or to the point where we're all of a sudden gonna flip into a buyer's market. And you could see that indicated on this chart here due to the amount of foreclosure filings or properties with foreclosure filings. You will notice that we are actually short, like we're under that number. If we focus on the quote unquote normal years prior to COVID, which we like to say are the last few normal or normalcy, last normal time in the marketplace prior to COVID, you will notice that back then we had more foreclosure filings than we have now. But as mentioned, I just wanted to share this with you to provide some clarity and deeper context to those headlines. And but yeah, so anyway, the moratorium was put in place, and obviously once that has been lifted, we will see a rise, if you will. And yes, it will be higher, or foreclosure filings are higher than they have been in the last 3 years, because lending institutions were not allowed to foreclose on property owners. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you, and we will do a bit more digging on the following slide. By the way, if you haven't done so already, please do me a huge favor and yourself a favor. Click the subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you can be alerted when I release similar reports such as this every month. So these only happen once a month, but if you would be so kind as to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, I would greatly appreciate it. Please and thank you. But I'm saying all this to say, or sharing this information with you, that while the headlines are factually correct, foreclosures are happening. Nothing to be taken lightly. We will continue to look at more data on the next slide. Here is a look at U.S. properties with foreclosure filings dating back to 2005 to further put what's happening in perspective for you. Notice where we are today in comparison to the last recession, which was an actual housing market crash. We see a rise in U.S. property foreclosure filings in 2007, and then a significant jump in 2008, 2009. In 2010, we began to see a decline in property foreclosure filings and continued decline in the following years. Today, clearly, right now, we're nowhere near those numbers. So yes, there are foreclosures, and we never want to see anyone experience that. However, this time around, the majority of property owners have enough equity in their homes to satisfy the mortgage owed and avoid having a foreclosure on their credit, which stays on there for about 7 years. The difference between now and back 2008, 2009 is that today's property owners have options that weren't available the last time. Let's talk about the expected recession. The Feds met recently and raised the Fed's fund rate and released this statement. It says, given their assessment of the potential economic effects of the recent banking sector developments, the staff's projection at the time of the March meeting included a mild recession starting this year with a recovery over the subsequent 2 years. And first of all, let's define a recession. The economic research defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy lasting more than a few months. This is normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. In my opinion, so I guess the question is, have we experienced a decline in economic activity collectively for a few months? The answer is yes. In my opinion, we've been in somewhat of a recession since last summer when both mortgage rates and home prices peaked and home buyers took a step back because with those dynamics, it became less affordable to purchase a home. So on top of all of this, how would housing be affected by a typical recession? What happens to home prices? What happens to mortgage rates? In a typical recession, rates are usually lowered. This creates an incentive for people to spend money and stimulate the economy, which is typical economics 101. This then leads to affordable mortgage rates and results in more opportunities for home buyers. A recession doesn't necessarily mean falling home prices. Here's a look at how home prices were affected during the last 6 recessions. Note that during 2008 is where we saw the greatest decline in home prices, and naturally so. This was a difficult and terrifying time for many people, and although that was over a decade, about 14, 15 years ago, it was a tragedy for many. And when most people hear the word recession, they automatically reference 2008, 2009, and rightly so. I get it completely, but take a look at this chart and note how home prices were affected, as mentioned, during the last 6 recessions. And they considered 2020 a recession of sort. Well, it was an economic slowdown in many industries or in many sectors. However, why you notice a increase in home prices is because everyone, or we were all using our homes differently. Many people working remotely, working out at home, entertaining if they were doing that, or at some point just with close family members. But I just wanted to put things in perspective and share this data with you and show you how home prices are usually affected during a recession. So, long story short, it doesn't necessarily mean falling home prices. Let's take a look at housing market trends within the metro Atlanta area. We're going to focus on pending sales, closed sales, days on market, average sales price, percent of list price received, and month supply of inventory. This chart is divided into two portions. The top part is for single family residences, and the lower part is for attached, so condos and townhomes. With pending sales, there was 3834, so 3,834 units. The amount that closed was 3,556 units. The days on market until sale, 34. Average sales price, $527,987. Percent of list price received, 99.5%. That's up from last month. And month supply of inventory, 1.8. We're going to jump to the attached homes. So pending sales, 1,156. Closed was 1,039. Average days on market until sale, 32. Average sales price, $385,401. Percent of list price received, 99.3%. Month supply of inventory, 1.8%. What does this all mean for Greater Atlanta area? We are still in a seller's market. The average sales price has increased since a month ago, and days on market until sale have decreased, I think by about 7 to 10 days from my recollection. And we are seeing that sellers are receiving pretty close to their asking price. That tells us that there is still a decent demand of home buyers in the marketplace. And month supply of inventory is about 2 months, 1.8 for both single family detached and attached. So we are still in a seller's market. Let's recap. Overall, home prices are expected to decrease by 1.2% this year. Foreclosure filings are on the rise and is the highest we've seen in 3 years. However, it's because the moratorium that was put in place has been lifted. We are still below the number of foreclosure filings that we had pre-COVID. Today's homeowners still have a moderate amount of equity in their homes. A mild recession is expected at the end of the year, A recession doesn't necessarily mean a drop in home prices. Currently, the average sales price for or of single-family homes in Metro Atlanta is approximately $527,000 and around $348,000 for attached homes. Average days on market is just over 30. We currently have approximately 2 months supply of inventory, and we are still in a seller's market. I think that's it. By the way, if you would like data on your neighborhood or specific property, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can grab all of my contact information on the following slide. As always, it's my goal to provide accurate information from trusted sources so that you can make the best decision for yourself and your family. Do me a huge favor, if you haven't already done so, please like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on future videos. That's all for now. Until next time, take good care.